When you're making something in Photoshop that is meant for an 8-bit palette, you have to go into image mode and index color, discard layers, and change it to your palette and to be able to see it like this. You don't need to hit OK, you can see the preview like this. But having to do this every time you want to see how something holds up or how it converts to your palette is very annoying. What if there was a way to keep layers and just edit the file as you normally would in Photoshop while all the time seeing a preview of index color? Well, there is a way. So I will explain what this color lookup layer does, how it works, and how you can create a color lookup table for your palette of choice. A HALD CLUT, CLUT standing for color lookup table, and HALD, I don't know what it stands for, but it's HALD, is always started with what's called an identity CLUT, and what you're seeing here is one of those. When this is applied to an image, it yields no change. But how change works is, and I'll zoom into this and you'll see that it also contains all the blacks. Like out here, it looks like it doesn't contain anything dark, but the image is huge. So scrolling in it, apologies if you get epilepsy. You take the input image, any pixel in the input image, find its color value, find that same color value in here, say it's, whatever position, and then you take the color lookup table that you want to apply and you look at the exact same position in that lookup table, and then you change the pixel to that new value. That is how the color lookup works, essentially. But you need to start with one of these, the identity CLUT, and these can be different sizes. Photoshop can work with up to 16-bit CLUTs, or 16 steps. But those files become enormous, and they're stored in HPSD. So I'm going to settle for 14 steps. That is going to be sufficient mostly for mimicking a 256 color 8-bit palette. If you want to create your own identity CLUT to start from, you need something called ImageMagick. Go to imagemagick.org, and on downloads, go to Windows Binary Release and get the latest whatever installer is. When you do install it, make really sure that you check the box Install Legacy Utilities, e.g. Convert, because Convert is exactly the one we're going to use, so that it needs to be checked. Next up, in Windows Command Prompt, you want to run this command, convert HALD: 14. 14 stands for the number of steps. You do not need more than 14 for this. Depth 16, that is the bit depth for the color. Color space sRGB, and then you name your file. In my case, held14_16bit.tiff. Done. That gives you a new nice 44 megabyte chunky TIFF file in the directory where you ran this command. Open this file in Photoshop, and now we're going to convert it to the palette that we want the lookup table to be used for. In my case, it is the Doom palette, which you can also see loaded as swatches on the right here of the screen. I've previously extracted the palette from Doom, so I have that as a standalone file. So what I need to do is convert this image to indexed color. However, indexed color is grayed out under mode because I'm in 16-bit per channel, because that's how we generated it. So we switch this to 8 at first, and then index color becomes available to us. Now we want to make sure that we load the correct palette here. If this is not the one you want to see, hit load and ingest it here. Make sure there's no dithering turned on, and okay. Now we have this CLUT file converted into our palette. I'm going to turn this back into a 16-bit file. So go RGB color 16-bit. Now I'm going to save it as a PNG. Now we need to convert this into a format that Photoshop can load as an adjustment layer, and that is called a cube file. We're going to do that using a Python script. If you don't already have Python, go to python.org and download the latest. At the time of recording, that is 391. Saving that. I'm going to ignore the disable path length thing here. I'm just going to hit close. In this GitHub repository from Mike Bowers called LUT convert, the file you want is the hald to cube.py. So let's grab that. The Python script requires an image manipulation library that used to be called pill, but is now called pillow. So we're going to install that. First, we're going to make sure our Python package manager is up to date. That one is called pip. So we do py -m pip install --upgrade pip. Oh, we were up to date. All good. So let's do the same to pillow. py -m pip install --upgrade pillow. There we go. Now we're ready to run the script to convert our PNG into a cube file. So py for Python, then path to and file name of the script, input file, and then output file. And the cube file is done. Let's go to Photoshop. Imagine I've drawn this beautiful image in Photoshop and want to see how it renders in the palette. Now, I don't want to go to image mode index color every time. So instead, I will add an adjustment layer called color lookup. Click load 3D LUT, click that again. And now I select my 3D LUT _ doom.cube. That was the output file name I specified from the Python script. I load that. Now it takes a little while the first time. This is kind of slow. And there we go. That is how the Mona Lisa converts into the Doom palette live. Now I can change, for example, the colors of this image. So I can change the saturation and see how it converts in real time to the palette without having to go anywhere else or into index color each time I want to see how it works out. Make sure that your color lookup adjustment layer is always on top of your layer stack, and also turn it off when you're exporting, because this isn't entirely precise, so you still want to convert to index color and save a proper 8-bit file when you're doing your final export of your assets. Also be aware, adding this adjustment layer to your file would bloat the file size with over 200 megabytes. So you end up with a lot of really big PSDs if you do this. So imagine you're doing 1,000 textures and this is in each one of them. Suddenly you're going to need to buy a new hard drive, so be careful.